we are going to dive right into. So yesterday we looked at Cantrip. The first half we looked at the character, the playbooks, and let's just go ahead and switch over the screen to that one. There we go, beautiful. So we've got the book here. And so yesterday we looked at it, we saw all of this stuff, all the way up to aspects. So we saw the basic setting and the system. We saw the role of the facilitator. This is technically a GM-less game. There is no GM. Everybody goes around the table, sunwise, clockwise, and takes turns both embodying their chosen character, their playbook, and the various aspects of the magical academy into which the young wizard, I keep saying girls, really witch gender is a construct, and in this game specifically so. The young witches entering their academy and the academy around them, right? We saw all of this, we saw the basic system. I had some doubts or concerns because this is powered by the apocalypse, which historically I've had a few hiccups with. Not a value judgment, just a me problem in which I was approaching powered by the apocalypse games with the wrong kind of mental model. Gotten better at that, but also this one specifically is a belonging outside belonging game. I'm familiar with them. I've actually played a few in the past, but as a genre or as a label for them, I'm not quite sure what it is that brings them together, what makes a game a belonging outside belonging game. So that's something that I want to explore in a future stream as well. The next game, after we're done with this, we already saw all the playbooks. Today we're just going to look at the aspects and kind of wrap it up. I suspect we're going to have more than enough time just to reestablish what we did yesterday. We looked through the system. It's definitely a GM-less system, but the facilitator role feels a lot like a GM. The main difference is that it is very much play to find out in all aspects. Facilitator role is more of a, hey, somebody should be familiar with the system. Somebody should be familiar with how this game works so that the other people can have somebody they can ask questions of. Otherwise, in terms of the running the game and the story of the game, that's actually made up at the table as you go. Everybody has narrative input, and as you go around the table and take turns portraying your characters, the other players will portray the various aspects of, they will pick up and place in front of themselves and embody an aspect of the academy or the town or all these things, and kind of play that out, take over GM roles effectively for that aspect of the world, and multiple people can join in the scene. It seems like a very cool little system. I dig it. It's also very much a storytelling only system. While there is a system here, there are moves, just like in most powered by the apocalypse games. There are moves you can make. It's meant to be the narrative triggers the move. What we discovered is that unlike a lot of powered by the apocalypse games, there's no rolling. Moves just happen. Certain moves, weak moves, when you make them, you will get a point. Strong moves, when you make them, you have to spend a point. So there is a system. There are actions you can take to gain points and actions you can take to spend points, and you can spend those points to achieve certain results or to learn new spells. So there is a game system. But it felt a little weird when we were looking at, for example, the senior game playbook. You see her weak moves, her regular moves, and her strong moves. And what we found is that the regular moves are, okay, cool, there are ideas. There are ideas for things that your character would normally do. Regular, everyday kind of things. But there's no mechanical effect. No rolling, nothing gained, nothing lost. That feels a little weird. That feels like, why then make them part of a system? I feel like this weak, regular, strong moves split could have been done a little differently. That's honestly one of my few kinks with this game. I can be weirdly nitpicky about stuff that doesn't actually matter. It's vibes based, and the vibes are kind of off with how that works for me. On the other hand, I really liked the lore for every playbook. Every playbook has a lore, which is a way to get others, or reward others rather, for including you into their ongoing scene. So when it's somebody else's turn, when somebody depends on your experience, knowledge, and connections for help, they gain a token. Or even in your own, if you're the one portraying that playbook at the table at the time, and so you're running a scene for them, you can kind of lure somebody into the scene with you by going, hey, if you were to come to my senior and ask her for help with their school connections to achieve something, you get a token for that. So it's an encouragement for people to come up to your character and kind of bring them into the, and the lure for each one seems to be very closely matched to what that character does, the main point of the playbook. It is a way to mechanically reward people for bringing your character into the scene to do the thing that they are good at. I do very much like that. It feels weird to have these moves and there's this bowl chunk that doesn't have any mechanics, and because there's no rolling, narratively do the thing, which is fine. But again, I feel like the system could have been rebuilt a little. Now, the last thing we're going to look at is the aspects. The aspects are the rest of the town, the academy, the people, the places, the various aspects of the world itself, the challenges. You will pick from these. They will be at the table. Each faction has its own. There's multiple factions, right? Here, let's go back to the index real quick. So there's multiple factions within the aspects, multiple groups. There's the adult witches, the denizens, the town, the weeb, and the academy itself. So let's look at the details on each one of those as we go. When you're picking up the adult witches, you pick up the aspect of the adult witches. Let's look at the description first, then we'll look at the mechanics. The headmistress, the teachers, assistants, and non-teaching staff. All the authority figures you must contend with in your daily life. Mostly well-meaning, but prone to power trips and to just not getting it, man. This aspect also includes all the good, upstanding members of witch society, especially the more traditionally minded witches. When you pick up one of these aspects at the table, you are playing one of these instead of your normal playbook. It gives you a set of moves that you can do. And again, I thought originally, because they're calling it moves, that there would be some kind of mechanical aspect to them, right? Maybe it's a challenge that the group would have to roll against or anything, but no, it's just things that these people, this aspect of the world, would do, such as appearing unexpectedly to stop the group's plans, changing the rules without warning, recruiting the characters to organize a school event, provide foolish advice, or enforce strict adherence to traditions. These are ideas of things that this group would normally do, which is fine. I feel there's a level of crunch that I wish I had here. That's all. That's why I'm curious if this whole super storytelling aspect of this game, the fact that it is very much just choosing moves to make, but you can do things outside of it. You can just role play the aspects, but it is pure role playing. There's no aspect of chance or random dice rolling or random generation. You're just telling stories together, which again, not a value judgment. On the contrary, I like that, but it is interesting to me, and I'm not sure if that is indicative of belonging outside belonging games or it's just this game. So again, part of the reason why I want to explore the genre more. This one, I feel like maybe I should save it instead of giving it its own review. I feel like maybe I should do a video on belonging games in general and then include this game and other games like as I'm talking about it. I think that might be a better approach because this is part of that genre that a lot of people might be less familiar with. I know I sure am. I feel like maybe a video about the genre of games, and within that video we can include this game and a few others. And then if there's any standouts, they might get a full review of their own. But in the meantime, let us continue with this one. So you've got your suggestions of things you can do, the moves right there. Then it's got some guidance. So basically, you pick it up. So this actually means something in the game. If you want to bring this into a scene, you have to, there will literally be a paper note that just says the adult witches. And if it's not already in front of you, you can pick it up. You can trade away, which is like take whatever else you had in front of you and trade it for that. And or rather, so that was trade in. Trade away is get rid of the aspect, right? So these are things you do in the game, and it gives you some guidance as to when to do them. For example, the adult witches, you want to pick that up, roll up when you want authority figures to throw a wrench into well-laid plans. The game does encourage you to kind of go PvP a little and complicate the other players' lives. Or pick it up when it's time for some school spirit. Some general guidance of when to do it and when to get rid of them. When you want to put a stop to the teacher's power trip, or you have to explain yourself to authority figures, trade that away. And then choose 2 absurd rules set in stone. This is 76. Yeah, okay, so we'll see. Because the teachers specifically get to do this. They choose 2 absurd rules set in stone. Examples from that: curfew, You must wear a witch hat at all times, which I think I would pick immediately because, I mean, come on, witch hats. And let's see, going into town is mandatory. Unreturned library books will catch fire inside your bag. I like that one. Mandatory weekly bed check. Teachers must be addressed as your most excellent. Badly made potions must be drunk in full by the brewer. That seems deadly. Speed limit on broomsticks. All right, fun stuff. Fun stuff. I like that. It's interesting because it is giving a mechanical aspect to role-playing. It strikes me that this whole book is in its own way the GM section, because everybody is playing the GM role to a point. You're all taking turns representing both your character, your playbook, and the various aspects of the world and the town and the story. So all of this is the kind of stuff, it's less game mechanics, although it is game mechanical. There are steps, there is a step-by-step process to all these. These are terms that mean something in the game. They are terms of, terms of the trade, or terms of art. Just terms inside the game. So, but the kind of things that it's giving you feels almost like GM advice. It's telling you narratively when this should happen, when the narrative does that. For players, normally mechanics are a reaction. Hey, when you get hit, you can react in the following ways. You can hit back, defend. When you're going to get hit, you can block, parry, dodge, take the hit. These are mechanical things. They do mechanical things within the game itself. Here, it's narrative. It's more like, hey, when you want authority figures to throw a wrench into well-laid plans, you pick up this role, and here's some examples of moves that they can do. And also when you pick up this role, or rather when you're defining this role at the beginning of the game, this happens. You do these as well. So they are narrative things. They are narrative guidelines, which is kind of, again, the kind of thing I'd expect with a GM. In this case, that guidance is being given to everybody because everybody's a GM. So within that framework, okay, I'm getting it, and I do like it. In fact, if anything, I wish there was more, but, you get what you get with some of these indie games, right? They're making the best with the space that they have. I think this is enough. I think we get a solid feel for what the adult witches are. Like, it doesn't have to give us more than we need to have. So now let's see. The student body. I like the art. I like the colorful sort of watercolor. Let me see. Yeah, there's a watercolor vibe to the art in this book that I'm really digging. I'm really enjoying the softness. Also, the 90s Trapper Keeper vibe. I grew up with this stuff. I can't help it. I like it. I may have gone to a little witch school when I was younger. All right, the student body. Your fellow students, some new arrivals, some who have been here for a long time. Many informal hierarchies exist among the various cliques, but nobody would question the primacy and power of the annually elected student council. Maybe you can try doing a little coup. Okay, so this is very anime, right? Because in anime, since so much of it takes place in high school, and that's a whole separate conversation to be had there on why so much anime and manga is set in that high school setting. There's a lot to be said, not in a negative way necessarily, just interesting about why that specifically is within the Japanese culture in which most of these works are set. But one very common trope within these high school settings is the student council. When I was growing up, yes, there was a student council. In fact, I was on it. I think I was treasurer for a year. That meant nothing. I was not good with money then. I'm not good with money now. I think I was some kind of secretary at some point in my student council. We did not have any actual power. I never experienced the thrill of holding power. If anything, it was just a little bit more, responsibility. Now I had to deal with money and keep track of things. I had no actual power. I couldn't say no when the council asked me for money unless we didn't have it. I didn't make decisions. The rest of the student council certainly didn't make decisions. They could say, oh, we want to spend the money on this, but there was going to be a teacher approving or not approving. I was not handing out our $15 operating budget to any other student without one of the teachers signing off on that shit real quick. But in anime high schools, the student council is like they can go up to the principal and demand shit. They're union thugs. They wield actual power and influence. And being on the student council means something for your future and career prospects, or so the shows claim. It's a very common trope. I don't know how reflective it is of the truth, but within anime, very common trope. And this fits that to a T, right? The student council is a legitimate force on par with the adult witches in this academy. Common moves suggested for the student body: harass, bully, and pester the weak and the different. Some things never change even with magic. Make plans, go into town, throw a party, establish a new fashion trend, ask for help with a problem that can't be solved alone. When peer pressure weighs down on your fellow characters, or when the student council is up to something sketchy. We do not trust the student council. You should not trust the student council. They are powerful, and power should always be questioned. Trade away when the student council schemes disrupt yours, or when you're interacting with your fellow students. Also trade it away if you want to run for student council. And circle some recurring characters. Okay, for the adult witches, we had those nonsensical rules. For this, we're going to select some recurring characters within the student body. The examples it gives us are the one other hedge witch at the academy. One of the playbooks is the hedge. She's a very crunchy granola kind of vibe. The haughtiest, poshest aristocrat than you can imagine. The student council treasurer and secretary. The witches who are in a band. The theater witches. I think we all know the theater witches. If any theater witches are watching, I am very emotionally vulnerable, and if you would like to abuse me, please leave a comment. The musical theater witches. I am also available for abuse from the musical theater witches. The troublemaker clique, the witches who can hook you up, and the star jock. Cool, that's a student body. I dig that. Oh, well, let's see. Let's look at the rest of them. But so far, in terms of mechanics, this game, again, I feel weird. This is a very casual game. It's not meant to be a campaign kind of game. You could play a few sessions of it, and that's it. There's not a terribly large amount of character progression or anything like that. It's very much like get together, do some casual scenes, do some casual slice of life, maybe have a little adventure, and just be light and have fun with it, which is a vibe that I appreciate and actively dig. So let's look at the denizens now, this aspect within the world. This one looks fun. I like the art. Look at that. Are you a dragon? Are you a whale? Or just a weird monster? And there's a tiny little witch with her broom going up to ask for one of those books that is the entire size of the witch. That is convenient and useful. So let's see. For hundreds of years, the Academy has employed monsters, goblins, ghouls, fairies, ogres, and stranger creatures to tend the grounds, sweep the floors, fix the plumbing, and even repair magical accidents. Very few of them, if any, are happy with this arrangement. In fact, there may be more than mere resentment stewing under the surface. Well, there's a little left turn here, so we've got a bit of a rebellion brewing, perhaps justified, from the denizens. That's cool. So moves: sabotage something important, seek help from witches, reveal a previously unknown aspect of the denizens, or stoke the fires of a revolution. They're not even being subtle with it. This is straight up like, hey, so we know you were looking at a much darker game last week, that Penumbra City one. We saw you liked the whole bring down the God King and create a revolution aspect of it. Here you go, buddy. Fight the power. Choose their reputation. So it's a reputation of the denizens. This is a reputation. It's not necessarily true. It's what people think of them when they think of them. We've got examples like overzealous, proselytizing, begrudgingly obedient, extremely formal, union, strong. I like this. Lazy, unscrupulous, disrespectful. There is something of a match to certain real-world events here, isn't there? But recommends you pick it up when someone interacts with denizens or something at the Academy needs fixing, and trade it away when you are centrally involved with the creatures who keep things running, whether they're on the clock or pursuing their own goals in their free time. I like this. I like this aspect in particular. And the aspect of the town. So they specifically say in the setting earlier on that the town itself is non-magical. And there maybe, I guess we'll learn more if there's any restrictions about that, but these are just normal people who have to deal with the fact that A, magic is real, B, it is primarily used by pubescent witches who are barely in control of their hormones and yet are given the power to fling fireballs around. That's the vibe I got from this book, so let's see if that pays off. A short hop and a skip away from the academy lies the town. Name it. Right, so you get to pick your own town name. Regular, non-magical people live their lives here, mostly unconcerned with the lives of witches, though a more discerning person might find the hidden nooks and crannies where magical items and services are sold, and even regular, mundane shops being run by a witch on the down low. So, a town full of mysteries and adventure for you. Haha! Moves! Make an outrageous demand. Like the normies are like, we refuse no magic anywhere within the borders of the town. No brooms, no nothing. Shun and isolate witches, as people do. Establish an unexpected fact about town life. Cool. Try to fleece, con, or deceive the witches, because people are the worst. And find common ground and understanding with witches, because sometimes people are not the worst. Circle 2 desires. Ooh, desires. So things that the town wants. For example, financial stability. Starts right off the block with a big one. To absorb the academy into the town, violence against scapegoats. You can get real dark with this. To make witches subservient, to hunt down any witches. So you can really do a darker story with these aspects if you really want it, which, again, kind of falls in theme with a lot of the shows that this is based on. It is anime. Just because they're cute cartoons doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be simplistic, childlike stories, even if the stories are about simplistic, childlike characters. All right, cool. I like the town. I like that there's an edge to it. And then the weave is the magic itself, and that is part of the setting. The academy exists because magic is inherently unstable and dangerous, and has a mind of its own. This semi-sentient aspect has been called many names throughout the centuries, but currently it is known as the weave. It is the source of power for witches, a wellspring from which they tap, harness, and project in order to cast spells and draw out the magical properties in plants, animals, objects, and even people. It is also the source of life for the many magical creatures living outside and within the academy, both the helpful and the hostile. Alright, so moves when you are embodying, when you have picked up the aspect of the weave. Paging Dr. Gale. Emergency. Paging Dr. Gale. Moves. Grant immense temporary power at a cost. Make magic backfire. Punish and reward the use of magic arbitrarily. Communicate through signs, symbols, and apparitions. Alter something irrevocably. I'm sorry, this is the aspect I will be picking up. If you play this game with me, I apologize. Or maybe I don't. I don't know if I apologize. I don't know if I'm sorry. But I know that I'm picking up this aspect. And I'm fucking with you. That's just what's going to happen. This is the aspect that they wrote for me. My aspect. The aspect for Dan is this one. Circle 2 desires, 2 things I want. Never retreat, never apologize. Reshaping the world, create mysteries, test and challenge, revenge, sentience, obscure and punish. Pick it up when a player performs great magic or pushes their own abilities, so you want to interact with something supernatural. That is all the time, constantly. Despite the fact that I literally started this stream going like, I don't actually believe in the supernatural. Just because I don't believe it, it doesn't mean I don't want it. Trade it away when you test the limits of your magic or leave yourself vulnerable to the weave's machinations. Cool. Is this the final aspect? I think it is. The academy itself, and with this we're going to wrap up Cantrip. God, look at that. We got through a game in less than an entire week. The academy itself, there's the aspect of it. And the weave may have a mind of its own. Witches definitely have a mind of their own. But the thing that really catches most new students by surprise is that, not to be outdone, the academy itself, its walls, its grounds, everything contained within it, the very space it occupies, also has a mind of its own, in constant conversation with the thousands of little minds that inhabit it. Okay, I like that. I like the idea that the academy itself is alive in a way, is sentient in a way. Also, look at that move. Shift through space, rearranging rooms, hallways, and buildings. Again, the call-outs to some of the classics. We're not going to mention the one that everyone's thinking about because fuck the mold-infested transphobe. But we all know. Show convenient shortcuts at a cost. Hide and reveal things. Belch forth secrets and mysteries for witches to solve. And bring people together or separate them. Circle 2 drives that the Academy itself has. To test and challenge, to surprise and awe, to discourage rule breaking, to encourage intimacy, to give and take, to be dangerous. Pick it up when a player is traversing the premises and looking for trouble at school, or the Academy itself is about to act on one of its own desires. And trade it away when you engage with the Academy as its own entity, where you want to turn its unpredictable and surprising sentience into a useful tool. And then we're back to the back cover. So what do we think about Cantrip? Off the top of my head, thumbs up. Here we go, thumbs up. Yeah. Put that in. Somebody screenshot. Cantrip, thumbs up. It's very different from what I'm used to. Again, it's inspired me to look into an aspect of gaming that I remain sorely unfamiliar with, and I should be more familiar with, and that is belonging outside belonging games. I want to know if they're all like this. The vibe I got from the whole belonging outside belonging thing is that it's meant to tell, it's specifically a storytelling game. A storytelling game which is meant to tell stories as a group, as a community, rather than a group of players following the story and plot of a game master. It's very much collaborative storytelling. And with Cantrip in specific, the pylon over there apparently thought I was talking to it. With Cantrip specifically, since there's no dice rolling, it is just an embodiment of pure storytelling, which I'm kind of digging. I think I would enjoy playing this at a con and just telling some stories with the right group. It would be a lot of fun, especially if you are already into that genre, that Little Witch Academia, Witch Hat Atelier kind of vibe, and you've got people around you who are also into that kind of vibe. I feel it does a good job showing you what each playbook, each aspect brings, and telling you about the setting itself. I think since it's a smaller book, it doesn't have the time to go into full detail, but part of it is also like it wants to give you the room to grow. And I think that will benefit if there are people coming in who are already familiar with. So this is very much a game like if you like this sort of game, you're gonna like this sort of game. If you like stories, slice of life, and anime stories about little witches in a magical witch school with a slice of life bent and the chance for some deeper stories and the chance to explore some darker topics as these witches learn and grow up, it's all there. But like with most games, quality will vary based on your playgroup. The right playgroup for this would definitely be people who are already familiar with the source inspiration material. I think it's time to move on to the next game we're talking about. But definitely Cantrip, thumbs up, like it, enjoy it, recommend it. If this is the kind of thing you're into, then you'll be into this kind of thing. Thank you. Please like and subscribe.